What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Man, it's so good to be back. Hey, welcome back to the Man Cave Experience. Returning listeners. Hey, for you guys that's just joining in, hey, we really, really, really do appreciate you guys joining us, man, in the Man Cave, seeing what's going on. Hey, I'm super pumped up today. I know Ron is super pumped up, but y'all, hey, we have somebody with
Rock star.
what up, man? Hey, but hey, we've been doing this and we're bringing somebody back on the show. We met this young lady in Dallas, blew us away. She been doing some super, super fantastic stuff, man. I know her Woman Crush Wednesdays. Oh my God, like I just love this queen, man. And that's Miss Tania Anderson-Meighan. I said it right. Hey, what's up? Hey, everybody say what's up. And hey, we just want to give her a big heart hug, heartfelt welcome to the show. Man, so excited to have you, man. Hey, Ron, what's up, man? Tania, what's happening?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. I'm just so honored that Tania had the in. We didn't have to recruit her. She heard about the Man Cave and wanted to come in. So, yeah, a welcome place for anybody that's interested in kind of being a part of this. And Tania, for you, just so much gratitude. Yeah, just so enjoyed kind of watching your journey, and I think we've had some similar challenges in our life, in our families, and I really appreciate our connection and really excited to have you part of this discussion tonight.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm very appreciative of the opportunity. So very excited to join you guys today.
Yeah, Tania, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. I mean, obviously, you're in the coaching career, so maybe a little bit about the type of coach that you are and the type of clients that you're looking to attract.
My name is Tania Anderson-Meighan, and I am based down in West Palm Beach, Florida. And for me, I like to work with individuals that are looking to surpass whatever it is that is keeping them stuck in certain places of their lives. Mostly just lifestyle. Those people that are looking for a change, whether in their careers, they know that there's something deep down inside that's there, but they just don't know how to bring it out. I love working with those types of people. And I've always had a passion and a drive to help inspire and to motivate people to take that next step to make their dreams come true. So it's been a blessing to finally be able to help others do the same thing, but now as a profession. Like I truly enjoy the work with working with individuals that are looking to take that step of living their truest desires fully.
I love it. I love it. So Ced, kind of lead us in. Tania brought up the topic tonight, and we kind of have explored a lot of different areas that really resonate with us as men. And I think it's been an opportunity for women to listen in and learn from maybe their spouse or brother or somebody in their life that might be able to get some insight from some of the topics we talked about. But Tania came to us with an idea to speak about tonight. So Cedric, why don't you kind of introduce that and kind of get us started?
Yeah, man, that was man, again, Tania, we greatly appreciate you bringing that topic up. I could remember just out the blue getting a text like, "Hey, you guys want to talk about this?" And it's like, "Well, man, all right, cool." And that was emotional support, and I greatly, greatly appreciate. So and what I'd like to do is turn it over to Tania, since you brought that to us, like what's on your mind around that? Like what was going on? What put that in your head?
I would say for me, I noticed that when I, just in conversation or anywhere, I noticed that even within myself, this was a journey that I had to go on within myself to understand the topic of emotional support. And one of the things that I realized is that what kind of helped me, or what kept me where I really didn't want to be, is the fact that I didn't have a lot of the emotional support that I was looking for. A lot of the things that I was kind of getting into were just not really understanding how to have the conversation with either my significant other or with my friends, because there's usually expectations that come within relationships. Like the expectation of who you are and who you're supposed to be tends to come first versus what it is that we're truly wanting to experience and explore that's going on within us. So I noticed that for me, because it was a personal journey, that I kind of lacked emotional support, and it allowed me to make some of the wrong decisions in my life. And once I realized that it was just because I didn't know how to communicate and I didn't have the right people around me to communicate that with, once things started to change and I started to gain that emotional support, things really changed in my life. So I felt that talking about this topic would bring some insight into what could help us take that next step so that we can journey in this understanding that we, both men and women, this is something that we all seek and something that would help us develop instead of hindering us.
Yeah. So man, that's kind of cool that you were aware enough to kind of see that's an area. And I think, sometimes I know I could probably speak for a lot of dudes, because when I look back, hell, I wasn't thinking about emotional support. But as you grow and learn, and you get to this point, especially as coaches, I'm like, man, I need some support trying to build it and trying to build a business. I think you definitely need some type of support system and emotional, because you can go on an emotional roller coaster. So hey, that's what's up.
Yeah, and I think for me, I've gone through a big change in my life from, being at a job for many, many years and having my role be, kind of much different than it is today. So, adjusting my own kind of how I look at the support that I give and need is quite different than it's been for so many years. So it's a transitional time for me and my wife to really understand, this, I guess, modified version of myself. I don't think I'm a different person per se, but I'm definitely, kind of understanding more about myself. And sometimes that could be, kind of misunderstood in a relationship where there's that uncertainty of, where has this person been before? And to know, that as we evolve and understand the other's needs as well as our own needs, you kind of have to be allow for that uncertainty to kind of play out and not make a quick rush judgment to kind of make the situation worse. There'll be times where I get in my head and not feel like I'm doing the right things or saying the right things, or putting the things out there even in a coaching situation that reflect the past versus the present. So for me, it's a constant kind of that stepping back process and allowing myself to kind of experience myself, just kind of view how I act and react and how I support my own needs, how I support my son's needs, how I support my wife's needs, how I give support still in a place that I want to finish at my career and be that committed person that I've been for all these years. So the support has been kind of a roller coaster for me, just to kind of allow for that variance to really move into my life, because it's a lot of years of certainty, and now a lot of uncertainty, which I've been better at, and allowing that to be much more free flowing in my life. But there's still those moments where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be at the place I've been at for the past 30 some years. My wife's still working, my role is changing. What support is important for, these different areas that I've, tried to keep in balance in the past. And it's, it's a constant, kind of reflection and willingness to really be more mindful.
So I got a question for y'all, man, because excuse me. So was there ever a time, and I'm, you guys are married both now, like where your other side or your significant other didn't understand what you were doing? And in that moment, how do you cope with not having that emotional support, because there's that disconnect?
Interesting. Would you like to go, Ron? Or
Yeah, I think it's kind of on my mind as I just came out of that last statement. So I think for me, initially, it was maybe more around not feeling like there was that understanding of what I was doing in my life. But now that I kind of reflect back on why that may be, I take a lot of ownership of not always being that person that I am now in my past. So I think my willingness to, be more expressive, to, connect more with others, to, kind of putting myself out there much more on a continuous basis without judgment that wasn't who I was for many, many years of my life. So I think it's not really fair for me to, now that I've become this, slightly different person, just more of an enhanced version of who I was, to allow my wife to adjust to that and to know that it's, it's my, I guess, being a little critical of myself and saying that there's, there might have been some things that I could have done better at different periods of my life to not create that disconnect. And now that I'm more connected, to assume that it's just a quick switch that she can flip on and feel like, okay, this is completely understandable. This is who you are now. Because I think there's a little bit about, well, why was I not able to bring out this man before? Why is it taking this journey that you're now on now to bring out this, person? And that's a great question, right? Because I think, but I really know now in reflecting on that it's more about my unwillingness to, because I think it's the closest person in my life. And I think playing a little small, which, Cedric and you and I have talked about, being in Smallville for a period of my life and playing small and being safe and not putting myself out there, that served me well. And that was, part of who I was as a husband for a period of my life. And now I'm, have a much different role and a much different perception of myself. So I think my values and my efforts to, kind of connect with everybody in my life at a higher level is, definitely much more important to me. And I feel like that's definitely who I am.
That was great. Like, I know that, like for me, I would say, to piggyback off of what you said also, Ron, is like when you're in a relationship, there are many things that happen or conversations that happen that at times we don't necessarily want to hear. So when we're going through these phases where someone says something and they're telling us something, there's something for us to get out of it. But because we're in a particular mindset of where we think we want to be, or whether we want to have that conversation or not, we can tend to be a little selfish and not allowing the other person's opinion to come in, which may be valid. There may be some valid concerns for us to listen to. And what I had to learn, especially with being married, is that I cannot be this, not necessarily selfish, but I need to really not be so defensive. I have to learn how to let my guard down and to see what is coming in my direction for me to learn, for me to take from this experience. Just as much as I want to move forward, I also need to be able to hear, which will allow me to move forward. So I had to learn to not be so stubborn and wanting my way and like, I don't want to hear that today, so I'm going to block that out. Like these are things that I had to adjust to in order to make it fair in the relationship, because how else can you be in a relationship with someone if you're not hearing what they are contributing? There's a reason why you're partnered with this person. So if I'm not allowing for my husband to be emotionally supportive to me, then how am I creating that door for him to walk into? Right. I'm closing that door. So I have to be willing to see where I am contributing to the issue just as much as saying that, the issue is existing. I have to see what my part in it is. And that was one of the things that I realized over time, was to, pay attention to my actions, how I'm showing up, and to see what can transpire out of just me being patient and being willing and listening. And that's when I noticed that the support was growing, the more that I started to do that. Now conversations are a lot less tense. We can have conversations about certain things that would have normally made me upset. But now, because I have learned to take a step back and really just listen, process what's happening, now I'm starting to realize that, wait a minute, this is valuable information that's actually here to help me, not to hinder me, so I can take the time to listen just as much as I want to be heard.
And I think that's a great point, because I think I definitely connect with that, because I think my willingness to respect what my wife has to say. I mean, she's a very successful businesswoman, and she's, put a lot of effort into her career. So, when you look at, or when she looks at me now becoming a coach, something that's quite opposite, not quite opposite, but quite different that I've been doing for my whole career, it's hard to, kind of imagine the potential success of anybody that's just new to any profession, right? And so I think it's, obviously we have that confidence. We know, we have the skill set, and we have this connection with others to really share that part of who we are, to offer that as a service to others. But I think what you said, Tania, is huge, because I think, she's trying to help me. She's trying to keep me from, feeling the impacts of failure. And they're all real things that, comes from a different perspective. I'm more the optimistic, everything's going to work out. And she's more the realist, hey, it may work out, but you need to make sure you think about this, and this, because in the event that this happens, this is happening. And that's what she does, right? So for me to discount that, kind of methodology of thinking does just kind of, it lends itself to me thinking that, well, you don't know what you're talking about, versus you know exactly what you're talking about, and you're giving me a different perspective to really ensure that I'm really thinking about the big picture.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a little different on my side though, y'all. I'm single. well, no, okay, that's bad.
Your life's gonna change. We're gonna have some podcasts here shortly where you're gonna go, oh my gosh,
right.
This is what I went through today. My son just peed all over me or something.
Right. Well, see, we working towards that. And I guess the single is the wrong word. I'm not married. Let's say that. But it's interesting, man, because I'm like kind of thinking, starting out on this coach journey, or just not even a coach journey, but the journey of change. And it's a lot of rediscovering who you are, right? And what it is you stand for, and all these things. And sometimes, man, in that dating world, you kind of like, you come across this person and it's like, well, this is what I'm trying to do. And I know I found myself constantly getting in the spot of, you know what, they're not trying to do what I'm trying to do, so I can't be with them. Oh, they're not trying to do what I'm trying to do, I can't. So I'm like, man, that's kind of cool, hearing what you guys are saying on from that spectrum, to be on the non-married side. And it's like, well, because I'm sure other people out there were like, man, I'm single, and I'm trying to live my life, and if you're biblical, the light can't be in the dark. And, if you're spiritual, you want to be able to put good vibrations out, good energies, and you don't want to be around the negative energies. So it's that constant pull. So that's just one of the things that's always on my mind, when I think about it. I'm like, I wonder how, and that's just ways to figure it out. I'm like, trying to constantly figure out different ways to figure it out.
And I think, Cedric, for you and I think we've had the discussion around that what we have is our friendship is, more unique in nature, because we haven't really spent a lot of time in each other's presence. Obviously we've had this podcast and we've connected.
Are you still my dog?
We've had some, amazing conversations, but we both realize that there's no doubt that we've got a bond that's going to last for the rest of our lives. So Tania, I'm interested for you, because I know when we speak about men, we don't often have those role models in our lives that teach us to have that emotional connection with other men and give that support, because it, might not be manly or might not be, what the norm is in society. So in respect to your friends and the emotional support that you've been or not been given through your journey as being a health coach, how is that, from a woman's perspective, is that something that you have, I mean, I know you mentioned some struggles early on, but are there other things that you've experienced as far as that support from the close women in your life that recognize what you're doing and really give you that emotional support that you're looking for?
Oh yes. I think now, because things have changed, we're in an age that is inviting enlightenment. And it's allowing for us to be able to hear different perspectives. I know growing up, it was a lot tougher to be able to hear, because it was more traditional back then. You would hear of how things were being done in the past, and we would try to keep it that way. But now that things are shifting in this age of technology, thank goodness, that we are willing to hear perspectives, and we can have conversations and do things like what we're doing right now, to be able to listen to each other's perspectives and experiences, to see where we are actually very similar in a lot of ways. But before, in the past, these were things that people never really talked about. So we never really knew the steps of like emotional support. That was never anything that anyone talked about. So now, being in this particular day and age in 2018, we can have, excuse me.
Technical difficulty.
We are having this just the ability to be able to have this conversation, which I do appreciate a lot. So, you know, growing up, it was something that we didn't really know was a conversation to have. You know, we did the best that we could. We do what we knew. And, you know, growing up now, everything has changed. Now, even the way that I see life has changed. The way that, you know, my family sees life has changed. So it's kind of like just migrating into this new way of being. But I know that it was a lot of what I experienced in my life was based on how I saw emotional support. You know, we were, you know, depending on where you grew up or how you grew up or who raised you, there was a certain expectation of who you're supposed to be. You know, you go to school, there's an expectation of who you're supposed to be there. Then you come home, you can't be who they're telling you to be in school, so you have to be someone else at home. And then when you go somewhere else, you can't be who they taught you in school and who they taught you at home. You have to be. So it was like we had these multiple personalities that we had to put on, but we never really understood how to just be supported in our just being who we are so that we can multifunction in all roles instead of feeling like we have to put on an outfit, you know, for each different role that we fulfill. So now it's starting to be okay for us to have these conversations, to be able to be supported by one another. Because before we didn't know it was a conversation to have. At least that's what I would say.
And I think, you know, obviously things have changed technology-wise to where, you know, we have obviously these devices that we can send text messages and all these things that allow us to, on a less personal, you know, level, give that support. So, but I think, you know, this is obviously an avenue that we're utilizing that we can easily just put an audio out there and have a conversation. But, you know, I'm more old school and I understand and appreciate technology just to have this type of connection, because I obviously feel a much stronger emotional connection and support seeing you and hearing you and experiencing you than to, you know, call you on the phone or send you a nice comment on Facebook or to, you know, send you a text. So I think that's obviously how we give that support is being watered down by the avenues that are out there that, and some of those things that our children are going to experience. And we're like, really, that's something we're going to experience in our lifetime, and how that's going to impact, you know, our kids' ability to have that emotional connection and emotional support. So it's so important, I think, for us as parents to still show our children what we're doing, even though it's electronically and it's over the, you know, a computer screen. We're still building a connection and giving that support that is much more authentic in nature. That's really, I think, creating you know, an opportunity to, you know, evolve versus, you know, kind of go in the opposite direction.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you said that. As you know, brought up the parenting part, because man, that's keeping me so in check right now. I'm not gonna lie, but you know, it's all a part of our programming, because I can definitely agree with Tania on that. You know, y'all both know, I told y'all my story and y'all listening, man. Like I'm from the hood, and the reason I was really into it, you know, my father wasn't really around, and that's pretty common in my community. So, you know, you're not even taught how to be a man, so you have to try and figure this stuff out. So we don't even really know how to give any type of support, especially emotional support, because we're so screwed up emotionally. You know, we're like I think we talked about, what was it, ego or something like that. You know, we're very egotistical, but our ego was forged from our environment, you know. And man, it's crazy, like how the world has changed. And that's why I like that we have this, so we can put this type of stuff out there and saying, hey, we can come in and emotionally support another man. And, you know, as the youngsters say, no homo or whatever, you know, and they call it out. But you don't have to look at another man and say, oh well, maybe he's some type of way because he's supporting another man. And on the flip side, if you want to see a better environment in your house, support your woman and what she doing if it's something she want to do, and vice versa. And that's why I love that you even pointed it out to Nia, that you had to be open for the support. Because funny thing, man, I was just kind of thinking, like, while y'all were talking, and I was like, holy crap, I got a little bit more present. And when we first got on, remember, I was like, man, I'm worried about the noise, because I'm trying it in the front of the house. But people have caught on, my family's caught on, like, oh, okay, everybody's like, oh, it's Tuesday, you're doing your thing, right? And I looked up and it's quiet, everybody's kind of gone. And I was like, man, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
You have to sometimes be present to realize that you're getting that support too, because they're supporting me on this journey of trying to grow the show and do this thing. And so now they're, hey, it's just a little bit of time. Give Unc his time, and we be back out to playing a little bit. So it's kind of cool, man.
Yeah. And everybody does what they can,
Right.
Everybody supports in their own way. So like you said, with your family being able to give you the space to do this for your, for you to have this platform, that's huge. That's exactly what you need right now. Some people can give monetary support. Some people can give emotional support. Some people can give spiritual support. Like, there's support that can come in different versions and ways. So it's like we all have our strong suits. Like, us as coaches, we're giving a particular type of support to people that may not have that. So it's amazing for all of these different avenues to kind of come in and to help you really propel you to the next level so that you can evolve into who it is that you want to be. I think that's amazing to be able to have that platform and to have that type of help in your corner for you to be able to do that. Because it would be so hard if you didn't have it. Trust me.
Hey, you got. Oh, no,
and I think as men, we usually want to fix it versus, the emotional support may be just as valuable to just sit here and listen and just be there, and just know that that's what they, what your wife or girlfriend or friend may need at that point, and that's okay. It's not, you're not giving any lesser version of yourself, because that's exactly what they need. So I think it's not just a generic, I have to have the answers, or I need to be able to solve the problem. Sometimes that's necessary, and I think you have to kind of gauge, obviously, the conversation and know that person well enough to what they need at that point. But also, knowing that just that connective silence, not that silence where you're just off somewhere else and not paying attention, but that true sense of, I hear you. I'm hearing what you're saying, and that's equally as powerful as being that problem solver, or that one that gives that insight to create that change, and allows that person to step into that next version of themselves.
Well, I gotta be honest. That shit is hard as hell to do. Because I don't know if this was you, like, pre self-change days. As a man, my support was, well, here's what you need to do. Like, this is what you need to do.
Right.
Like, it wasn't about, oh, okay, let me take it in, let me listen. No, because if you got a problem and this is what you're trying to do, all right, stop it. That's what you need to do.
And maybe sometimes just asking that tough question, right? It's like, what, I think as a couple, especially, I think you have to be willing to not feel like, well, you should know all the time what that person needs. Sometimes there has to be that willingness to, say, you know what, you're right, I should know that. But to hear it again and just to reiterate that, just makes it even more, what makes me more aware of that. And I think that's, I think when we get defensive in those situations where we, it's like, well, you don't remember that that's what you need to provide me? No, I think there's times where we get in our own world and we're trying to do all these other things to keep ourselves whole, that sometimes we lose sight of some of those important things, and we need to revisit those in all of our relationships, not just in a marriage or, a friendship. I think even you and I, Cedric, I mean, I think if we just went along and had these podcasts and didn't have, some of our follow-up conversations, our friendship is going to be, it's going to be, kind of a level, growth versus our willingness to, push each other, to hold each other accountable, to laugh together, cry together, give all those different versions of what we need to give each other for that support that we need. That's going to be the value in our relationship, and it's going to be the value in my relationship with my wife and my son, and Tania and with her husband and her children. So and Cedric, with you, once you've got your little one there in front of you, I mean, that's going to be something that you're going to realize all these different areas that are new that are going to need to be supported.
I can't wait too.
Oh, y'all know. Oh, shoot! As soon as he touched down, he coming. He gonna be on the show, be body, all of that. But hey, y'all, I want to flip it real quick. If y'all don't mind playing with me. So,
okay.
Let's say I'm hearing this, or I'm. What do you? If somebody's like, well, my spouse or my significant other isn't giving me the support, I want to have the support. So, but I don't know how to go to him or her for the support to let them know I need your support. What does that sound like or look like?
I guess I'll go first. I know that when I was in the very same situation, that it was very hard. Like being able to bring forth that change that you need to change it from not having the conversation because it's hard to have versus being bold and just having the conversation anyway and deal with the aftermath later. I had to push myself to that point just to see what was going to happen on the other side. So a lot of times I just had to not give up. I had to keep having the conversation. And I had to really, the more that I had the conversation, I had to put a little bit more seriousness behind it to say, look, you think I'm playing, but X, Y, Z, so it was tough. I had to keep banging at that wall until eventually there was a crack that started to pop up. And then when I saw that crack, I was like, oh, okay, I got it. Got it. But
Right.
it was persistence. It was diligence. It was faith. It was hope. All of those things helped me push forward to get to this point. It was not easy. I had to make the steps and I had to make the decision to continue moving forward. And unfortunately, it worked out. It wasn't easy. Trust me, it was not easy at all, but it was worth it. I can definitely tell you that much.
If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right?
I know, right?
Yeah, and for me, I mean, very similar to Tania, I think the one thing that really stood up, kind of maybe as in addition was just owning that part that was me and not owning the part that was, her journey. And, to really communicate on that, just, being willing to accept, the things that I needed to do or, need to understand about the kind of this change of roles and change in our lives, but also to allow her to kind of do some self-reflection and to identify what support she needs and what her insecurities and concerns and are around that, this whole kind of change in our life. So, and I think for the listeners out there, I think we're obviously all coaches. We're trying to do things in the world that create change. These conversations that we have, we're just three individuals putting this our thoughts out there, and hopefully some of these types of things that we're bringing up resonate with you. If they don't, feel free to share this information with others. We're just trying to kind of create this space for ourselves. I guess a little bit of selfishness on our part to be able to connect and have this time together, the three of us, but also to kind of allow others to again just kind of experience three just maybe completely different perspectives on life. So I still appreciate, Tania, you being with us. I know you're going to be back with us again. I think the next time we're going to go live, and really excited about that, and just kind of being even more in the moment and kind of experiencing that. So I will say my good nights to you, and I'll give it over to Cedric to say his as well.